we're going to shoot a little video here, and we're going to talk about uh, the difference between stuff like oil washes and Citadel washes or regular traditional washes in the shades and whatnot, because that's a question that comes up kind of often. Actually, every in the video I posted, and when I was talking about that, people were like, "Oh, well, you shouldn't use Citadel washes. You don't use them. You use oil wash all the time." And that's a very elitist way of thinking, but also it's not completely wrong. Let's talk about this here. So, between Citadel washes or gaming washes and oil washes, and why should you use one, why should you not use one? And that's again a very common question. I get this almost every time I talk about shades. Somebody mentions this, and a lot of people they like to talk about this, and also a lot of people that are maybe newer to the hobby are not that familiar with oil washes. So I guess let's start talking about these oil washes first, because that's a pretty good topic. What are they? So oil washes are, for all intents and purposes, the best washes you can have on your minis. If you're looking for, display pieces or high quality painting, oil washes are the best by far. It might be a weird way to start this video, saying, well, which ones should you use? And I start with with this banger of oil washes are the best. But in my mind, what I compare them to is often like spray primer, shaker cans, and like primer from shaker cans is the best out there. It's unfuckwithable, right? It's the best. There's no, it hands down. Larger quantity, better coverage and prep. It does everything, and yet people talk all the time about airbrush primer. This channel, we used airbrush primer a bunch of times on the videos, in the tutorials we talk about this. So there's a reason. So why should you maybe not always use oil washes? Oil washes is oil paint that you're going to thin down to get into like this wash consistency. And then there's a bunch of like little effects. So you have to thin it down because oil washes, they come in this little toothpaste little format thing, and they're very, well, toothpaste looking in terms of consistency. So you have to thin them down, and you have to buy this special little thinner here to work with them. Mine's in French though, but it's essentially, if you see, sometimes you'll see white spirits. This is the same thing. Mineral spirits is this old stuff here. So it's thinner. You want this one here is odorless solvent. You need, this smells like shit already, so you want to get the odorless one, because the other full one it just smells terrible. So you need this little specialty thinner to go with your oil paints. And then these ones, I bought these like a while ago. You can see I'm not, this is not something I bought just for this video. I use this a lot. But I bought these, a while ago, and so this big ass tube here is $4.99, and then they probably went up in ever since. But so five, so in the same price range for a little tube here, and this has a lot of paint, because you end up thinning it an insane amount to get a wash consistency, because this is just regular oil paint. While you thin it down, this allows you to, of course, get the exact ratio that you want, right? How liquid, how transparent, and all that jazz. And it also allows you to play with it a little bit, because oil washes take a long time to dry. So what that means is you can apply your little coat, work it a little bit, and then use some thinner or some Q-tip or some paper towel, what have you, and then just kind of soak it back in and touch up whatever it is you are doing. So this gives you like an insane amount of control over what you're doing. And here you can see I got this is burnt umber and lamp black. They're the two most popular ones. If you're getting into this, this is what you want, because essentially it's the same thing as a Grox Earthshade and non oil. It's not the same, obviously, but it's the brown. So burnt umber is the brown one, and then you can mix those. And I've had like a lot of success. I have a couple here lying around, but this one here is probably my second favorite. It's a magenta, but their magenta is really dark. I don't know if you guys can tell. It's like not like this light pink. It's like very dark. And I've been a very big fan also of this turquoise here that I got from a different brand. But the turquoise, these two are really great for this one. I used it for verdigris, which, if you're in the Games Workshop thing, is the same thing as Nihilac Oxide. Nihilak? Nihilak, whatever. Essentially, yeah, this is some good turquoise. So you can make like all kinds of crazy stuff. And this purple works really well for metallics and skin tone. Like skin tone with all washes again, just great. So you can buy a bunch of them, and then they're all kind of the same price. You know, still four between 4 and 6. Those are for your oil washer. Now, obviously, the drawback here, and why would you not want to use them all the time? Why am I still using these Games Workshop thing all the time, and what's the case for it? Well, just like our varnish example, there's a place and a time to use these, and there's a place and a time to use these. The drawbacks here, and the main difference is these washes take a lot of time to dry. Like we're talking like a solid like 8 hour. Like you get a good night's sleep, you come back to it, it's gonna be sort of dry. So not everybody wants to deal with that. I don't need to every time have to wait 8 hours for my stuff to dry in between coats. You also need some sort of preparation because you're using this little thinner here and oil paint, and you're playing with. So usually you need a varnish coat. So that it adds like a lot of step to your miniature painting experience, like really quickly, where you have to varnish before, and then you use your oil paints, and you do your cool effects with them. You play with them, and then you want to you want to wait for them to dry, and then you want to varnish again so you can keep painting on top of it. So there's a lot of of steps. So as with the higher quality, it's also a lot more work to get it to work, which is where these guys come in really handy, where you just make a coat, you wait like 5-10 minutes and you're done, right? If you do like a unit, by the time you're done with last guy in the unit, the first guy is dry. So the waiting time is 0 essentially. And then the second thing is very obviously, I don't want to fidget with all of this stuff. I don't want to go full Walter White and do my little chemistry and make my wash every time. I like to take this, open the pot, and paint. So that's really, I think, especially for, again, newer people, or either like the newer painters that don't really necessarily need to like learn or add complexity to what they want to do. They just want to achieve their minis. I think this is like a pretty good way, because it's very straightforward. And also for people like me, I'm just happy to paint my minis a lot of times. So I don't always need to go the extra mile. I'm just happy to get my stuff done. Just don't overcomplicate things if you don't need to. You can complicate things if you want to, but you don't need to. The third one is also consistency, where because you have to thin it down, and this is probably I use this, as I said, I use this a lot, but I'm still not like, it's not a regular thing for me. I use this on like, I don't know, one project out of 10, maybe less, 7, whatever, So I don't use this like on the regular, and getting the same consistency, I find this very hard. And I've did this in the past where I did my army in 2 batches, and you could tell it was not like super obvious, but once you knew that they were different, it was unmistakable. Simply because my ratio was not exactly the same in how I thinned down my wash or how I cleaned it up. Because a big part of one of the cool things with the oil wash, as we said, is the ability to clean it up, right? Where when you lay down your little Nuln oil on your mini, it baby Jesus take the wheel. It dries as it dries, and then you get this one here. You can apply it a little bit more willy-nilly, and then rework it while it's on the miniature. But again, if you don't rework it the same way, if you more thin down, less thin down, if you're doing a shade, with thin down paint, or with just straight thinner to clean it up, it's gonna get different results. So there's a lot of ways to not get the exact same result, which for me and my army painting kind of endeavors, where I paint full armies, consistency is something that I value a lot. So doing this while it produces a very higher result, getting the same consistency across like different batches or over a long span of time is a lot more challenging. I don't think I don't think this needs to be like a super long video. I think again, I've said it. I think this is I think it's the best way. If you're looking for the best way to do shades that give you the most control, and then you can play with and learn and get to the next level, definitely the oil paints are where it's at. But to go the the pretentious rounds, oh, you should never be using anything else, just use oil paint all the time. I think that's also a very stupid approach to painting minis, whereas it's not always the right answer. So anyway, I hope this clears it up. And as usual, if you have like questions about this painting stuff, drop like a comment somewhere. I'll find it, I'll answer it. That's how I make videos. All right, so let's see. How do we do this now? I changed everything up here. What's this? Oh boy, that's a big Max Dubois right there. There we go.